under the same roof, we share the love, embracing the differences like hand in glove. Spreading peace and joy, it's a beautiful sight. Together we shine in each other's light. United we stand in love's pure might. Watching the world share in love and light. Hearts beating as one in our peaceful flight. Colors of harmony painting the night. United we stand in love's pure might.
All right, good evening, and thank you for tuning in to Watching the World. We have a pretty exciting night planned for those who have questions in regards to financial matters. Typically, we cover news and cases. As you know, many of you either discovered me covering Donald Trump's case, or perhaps it was Sean Diddy Combs' case. Usually, I go to the courthouse and take notes all day long, and then come back and report to you guys what took place. But some of you are aware of my background when it comes to finance, so I have been receiving so many emails in regards to finance. So I figured I'd take a night to go over some of the questions that I've been asked, and perhaps some of you who have questions. Okay, we have quite a few people here already. Mashona, thank you for being here, and also Bordeaux. I appreciate you guys' support. Eric, how are you doing, Eric? Hello back to you as well. There are many strategies when it comes to finances that a lot of people are not aware of, especially when it comes to buying a home. So I have received a few emails in regards to perhaps how to deal with a mortgage, and perhaps even some people are behind on their mortgage and trying to understand how to navigate. Some people have asked me about the stock market as well. This is something I do on a day-to-day basis. And as I've shown you, I've been quite successful at it. Now, does that mean that everyone will always be successful at the stock market? No, it does not mean that. However, if you educate yourself, and that's why I always say, take the time when you can't sleep, or perhaps you wake up early in the morning. All it takes is just some casual reading and understanding to see how the market works, so that way you can apply the things learned and also be successful. In many cases, if you're not familiar with the stock market, you could easily just buy one stock. Like, for instance, the stock that I shared, SoFi, I originally purchased that around $5, I believe, and now it's around 21, perhaps $20, something in that nature. Also, Rocket Lab was another one that I purchased around $3, and I bought tons of it, and now it's over $50 a share. So can you imagine that? So if you learn how to really navigate the stock market, you can be quite successful. Now, when it comes to day trading, that's something that I do not really dabble into. Usually when I buy stock, I do it for the long haul. But one of the questions that someone had asked, well, first, before I get into that, did you guys see that Barack Obama responded to Donald Trump in regards to this whole claim of treason? So I figured I would just touch that real quick. He says, out of respect for the office of the presidency, our office does not normally dignify the constant nonsense and misinformation flowing out of the White House with a response, but these claims are outrageous enough to merit one. These bizarre allegations are ridiculous and a weak attempt at distraction. Isn't that something? So we have all of these crazy accusations in regards to Donald Trump. What do you guys think? Put into the audience if you think that there's any merit to these accusations that are going around in regards to our president. What do you think? You think there's any credence there? We've been covering this pretty much every day throughout the week. Yesterday, we were filming a music video in Times Square. I can't wait to share. We also are filming a new song in regards to Watching the World, so that's good too. We were in the studio. We actually had a whole big dance group. It was quite exciting. So let's get right into the whole finance thing. When it comes to the credit, right? One of you had asked, and I want to just keep your confidentiality intact. Someone had asked me, how do you deal with credit scores, especially like when you're buying a home, you're trying to fix your credit in a hurry? There is a fast way to approach that, and that's why I chose to go this route and kind of break it down for you. Typically, what you could do if you're trying to buy a home, let's say, for instance, in my career, so many people would, let's say, I'll use Chase as an example. They would go to Chase, and Chase would require a minimum credit score, FICO score of a 640. So if you go to Chase at that time, and let's say you had a 635, Chase would turn you around at the door, okay? And you would be unqualified to purchase a home. However, in most cases, there are a couple things that you could do. And for the individual that asked me, I hope you can do either of the two. In many cases, you have credit cards, and simply paying down your credit card debt, your debt ratio in regards to your balance for your credit cards and how much you owe, paying that down in most cases will help you get a favorable rescore, and you could be able to, in most cases, turn around your whole credit score. In many cases, your credit score can go up, I'd say, on the average between 20 to 30 points just by tweaking and paying down your credit cards. Another way to get your credit score up in a hurry is being added on someone else's card as an authorized user. Have you ever did that before? That's quite popular, especially with people either trying to buy a home or purchase a car. So that's something that you could do as well. Um, I would recommend, if you have an individual, and let's say they have a Macy's card or some card for 20 years, and they have a pretty decent limit, maybe 5, 10,000, and a perfect pay history. By them adding you onto the card, you're going to pick up that history, and immediately, in most cases, your credit score will go up in a hurry, especially when it comes down to buying a home and it's down to the wire. Sometimes when buying a home, I know with a lot of my clients, I would often tell them back in the day, do not make any major purchases while you're trying to close in the next 30 days. And lo and behold, during the 30 days, their car would break down and they go out and buy a new car when it's time to, they're trying to close on their home. So these circumstances come up. So there are times when you need to get your credit score up in a hurry. So I hope that helps the individual that had a question. Another individual that asked me about, as far as I think they felt as though they were bombarded, recently purchased a new home, and you felt like you're very stressed about it. I don't think it's a big deal for you to restructure your mortgage and get the payment lower. Now, everybody has a different philosophy when it comes to mortgages and how much they want to pay. But for the most part, if you feel like you're stressed, I think it would be wise, based on the email that you sent me, to lower your payments so that you can mitigate what you're spending each month. Because if you look at the bigger picture, life tends to be full of ups and downs. So taking the opportunity to take a lower payment and refinance, I don't think it would hurt you in that circumstance. But that's just my opinion. You could do more research as well to try to figure it out as well. Another question I was asked was as far as negative items on the credit. And I'll give you my philosophy when it comes to that. Let's see. Mashona says, welcome in and thanks for joining. Please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you, Mashona, for supporting the channel and all that you do. When it comes to your credit, a lot of people have tough credit. And what I often tell people, if you're not ready to make those life changes to fix whatever's causing you to be behind, fixing your credit just may not be your main focus. You may have to do some soul searching to figure out, maybe why you're getting behind on so many different things, or seek to make more income. So if you take the steps that I'm about to break down for you, that you don't just fall right back behind again or go back to the same pattern. So I'll give you a couple steps that you could take. I don't think it's necessary for an individual to pay someone to fix their credit. There's a lot of resources for you to do so. And in answering the question that I was asking in the email, I'm going to do that for you now. The best way, or one of the ways that I think is quite successful to fix your credit, is to go directly to the three credit bureaus. So go straight to Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian, and just set up your account directly. So if we were to do the steps right now, I would sit with you and I would tell you, just go to Experian, set up your account if you don't have it. There's no need to go through a third party source that pulls all three. It gets rather complicated. So pull it straight through Equifax, go right in and dispute everything that's on your credit file that's negative. So just go right through, dispute, dispute, dispute. That's the best step. And I'm telling you, without a shadow of a doubt, out of all the people I've told over the years when I was actually practicing, that first time around, what'll happen in the next 20, 30 days, you'll receive a letter in the mail. It'll tell you, well, this was verified, this wasn't. A lot of people have things on their credit that the companies went out of business during COVID. There's just so many reasons why there's no response. And these items typically will come off of your credit. So you have to just take the step of going to those three bureaus and disputing these items. And I guarantee you, out of those three bureaus, you're going to see a big difference in your credit score. Now, here's a little tip that I would give you just so you can stay on top of your credit. If you use Credit Karma, you can download it on your phone, right? Where's my phone? Anyway, you can download it on your phone. Every time something happens with your credit score go up, go down, you'll get a ding. And now you're right on top of your credit. It'll only give you two, but that's enough to keep you on top of things. It won't give you Experian unless, it doesn't give you Experian. So now you go to these three bureaus and you dispute all the negative. I don't care what it is. Dispute it, dispute it, dispute it. Now, this is just my philosophy. You do not have to follow that, but I'm just answering someone's question. And when you do that, the letter comes, then you'll see what you're left with. Then you can write more detailed letters. Now, typically, they have everything automated when you write the hard letter. So let's say, for instance, today you follow what I'm saying. You go to Experian and you dispute everything negative, right? You get a letter in the mail. It says, okay, you had 5 items. 3 of them came off. So then the other 2, you would write handwritten letters on, let's say, cloud paper. So you write this letter. I'm going to break it down more at another time, but I use some sort of cloud paper or what have you, and you mail in your handwritten letter. I'll never forget one time I was on the Palisades going to New York City, right? I'm just giving you an example of why the strategy works. You have to get things out of the hand of the computer, or not out of the hand of the computer, but out of the realm of the computers. So when you write the handwritten letter the right way, it'll kick it out, and then you'll get a personal touch or get someone reading your letter that can say, oh, this person's mom passed away. This person's going through a divorce. This person lost their only job and they have 4 kids. You see what I'm saying? So one time I received a speeding ticket years ago, probably around 2001, going down to New York City. And I received that ticket. My mother got sick. She eventually died. It was probably 2002. It was right before she died. So when I went to court, though, eventually I missed a few court dates. Eventually, when I went to court, the judge was like, hey, this guy missed 3 or 4 court dates for a speeding ticket. Basically he wanted to throw the book at me. And I just mumbled, and I wasn't even thinking, I was like, yeah, my mom died. When he heard that my mom died, he threw the whole case out. And that's because you had a human being that probably at some point lost his mother. And he's like, okay, that's a legitimate reason. So that's why I'm trying to give you this advice. And I'm giving you some good advice if you really want to listen. I'm telling you from a lot of experience and helping a lot of people. So when the letter, now when you write this handwritten letter, that's one attempt to try to get these negative things removed from your credit. Now, I'm going to tell you, and I'm not giving you illegal advice, but I'm telling you why people get things removed from their credit. And you probably seen a report where the lady went and she had all these clients and she was getting everything removed off their credit, off their credit, off their credit, and charging them maybe 2,000. Some people, I think one person paid her 20 grand. I saw. What she was doing is filing police reports saying that all of these items were identity theft. And once you file that police report, they have to remove these items from your credit. So basically, these guys are having you pay them an enormous amount of money, and that's what they're doing. And that's what she was caught doing. She basically would have you fill out a police report, put all the maybe the last 6 digits from the actual account numbers on the police report, send it to the three bureaus, and then they were removing based on the police report. So you basically, it's a way that these people make money. I never forget, I had a client probably 18 years ago. He came to me and he had a judgment on his credit report. And I'm like, how did you? He says, I'm paying a guy down in Florida. He's going to have it removed off of my credit within 2 weeks. And I'm like, man, we have to close. How are you going to have it removed in 2 weeks? And he had it removed in 2 weeks, and I was floored. Later, I realized how he had it done. And there's so many people with various strategies, but basically, LexisNexis is, if you look it up, you can have your information opted out. So the person basically had him opted out of LexisNexis, which the credit bureaus were pulling the information from as far as judgments. So it takes you about 5 minutes to go to LexisNexis opt out, and that's how they no longer were able to report the judgments. Can you imagine that? He paid $2,000 for something that happened less than 5 minutes. But it took me years of later down the line, I realized how this guy was able to do it. And it's rather fascinating, but there's just so many different ways that people go about charging you a lot of money to make things happen. Let's see. We have Sharice in the building. Shout out to you. Thanks for being here. All right. Timmy Turner. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Obama was arrested in the White House. There's a video circulating of him being put in handcuffs. That's an AI generated video. But thank you for your input. That's definitely an AI video. Barack Obama has not been arrested as far as I know. So anyway, getting back to the credit. So that's uh, basically the strategy that these people use just to get your money. So basically, a lot of these things you could address yourself. Usually, I usually tell my clients, when you're purchasing a home, that's probably one of the biggest purchases of your life. So it's very important to have the whole deal structured out from your real estate agent. Also, keep careful notes of the entire process, because oftentimes when you're buying a home, it could get rather complicated. But it's not as complicated as people make it seem. So right now in Brooklyn, New York, there's so many cases of people that have been swindled when buying homes or trying to refinance right now. I have about 4 people that I know of for sure that are losing their homes to, I don't want to say the group of people that are taking their homes, but it's a religious group, and they're taking advantage of people, preferably Black people. There's an elderly lady right now that I know of. I think she's 76, and they swindled her out of her home as well. So usually, when you go to a great bank, you won't have problems. But now the economy is so shaken that people are falling for loans of all sorts and not realizing that the loans by design are set up for you to fail. And so you miss one payment, and they basically, it's like a modern day mafia movement where this religious group is going around targeting people and taking their homes. And I'm going to be reporting on it. We're actually making a documentary about it now. So buying a home is very important, and you have to be really careful, who you choose to do business with. But for the most part, I think people typically go to a solid bank. There's another gentleman I met yesterday. He's losing the home to the same group of people in Brooklyn as well. Now, I'm in upstate New York. We don't typically have that problem, but it's become quite an epidemic that, yeah, a lot of people in New York are starting to lose their homes when it comes to the mortgages and so forth. So I won't get too deep into that, but I did want to mention it because I know of several cases. And when the documentary come out, I think a lot of you are going to be floored to see how people just prey, especially on elderly people. They target, it seems to me, most of the cases are women that have lost their husbands and money is tight. Now, the big thing that's happening right now is that a lot of the Medicaid, Medicare, a lot of the benefits are going away. So how are people surviving? A lot of them are struggling just to make ends meet. So if you do have a home, a lot of people would come to you and say, hey, let's get a reverse mortgage, or let me refinance and give you 50,000. It's going to be easy for you to pay it. But they're giving you some astronomical interest rate, and now you start missing your payments. And this one house that the guy sent me the paperwork on, actually, he sent me the paperwork on it today. I'm going to show you guys here. His house is worth 2.5 million in Brooklyn. And this, I'll just say, this religious group, right? They're taking his home. And they're also taking the elderly lady that I just told you guys about. So you have to be really smart when you're taking out loans and trying to understand, really who you're dealing with. Yep. So here we go. The house is 2.5 million. Let me see if I can get it in the frame. Yeah. So he's losing that house because he took out a loan from the wrong people. But his lifestyle was probably pretty desperate at the time, so that's why he took the loan. Just figured, well, I could easily pay this. And then he also had a tenant. Now the tenant doesn't pay, so now he has a big problem on his hand. Okay, Sharice, yes, I agree as well, and that's a true fact. All right, thank you, Sharice. Tallow says the systematic abuse of the elderly is awful. Yes, indeed, it is. Talbot says such business practices should be banned. They should be banned, but here's the thing. A lot of these religious groups are tied into the government. So a lot of them sit and they're high up in the court system. Like, how can you beat the system when they're in the system? Right? Let's see. Ryan says, I do pro bono IT work for a lot of elderly in my area, and scams are such prevalent thing here in Florida. Okay. Yeah. So it's happening abroad. It's happening everywhere. Okay. Yep. Thank you very much for your info. Fat Ninja says cat meat. So I guess that could be a troll. All right. I guess we need trolls. True. We have trolls everywhere. So that was some of the questions that I was asked. So I figured I would go over it. Before I get into the stock market, just giving you a base information, I want to talk about something, because what I'm hearing and what I see, a lot of people are not struggling, perhaps, right? And so those individuals tend to look down on people that are struggling. But I find that a lot of people are taking a hit right now, especially financially struggling just to pay their bills, make ends meet. And most people are trying to keep up with the Joneses, as they say, and pay for an expensive car because they want to have a certain image or what have you, right? But at the end of the day, when you're struggling, what's the best course for you to take? Not everybody is making 100,000 a year, even 60. A lot of people are just barely getting by. So I just wanted to get an idea. What do you guys do as far as work? Are many of you guys self-employed? Just put in the chat. Are you self-employed? Do you work for someone? What's going on? Who do we have out here? Okay, Cherie says, I see a lot of homeless in New York don't have a home at all. Yeah, the homeless is outrageous here in New York. I often go to Times Square and I'm walking about and I show you the crowd and you see so many homeless people and even yesterday a lot of them didn't even have shirts on, you know, didn't have a shirt on their back and they just fit right into society. Okay, Eric, you're into the airline business. All right, shout out to you. Michonne, a nurse and insurance on the side. Okay, good, you have insurance on the side. How many of you have a way of making cold cash every day? Do any of you have side businesses or are you thinking in terms of how you can start your own business? Like, how do you plan on combating? You have a lot of people coming in with these special visas. Some of these guys have 3 degrees. Like, how do you compete? How does the average person compete with that? What do you guys do? Okay, Latrell, you're retired. Shout out to you. Okay, Talib, I work in a small 3-person company in pet care. Okay. Ryan says side hustle. Okay. Mashona says I'm an insurance agent and sell digital products. You guys ever notice that a lot of the individuals that come over from other countries, they're running these cleaning services, or you see that they do a lot of construction and what have you. I mean, some of these guys are very advanced. They have the vehicles, the vans with their company name on it, right? Um, and they also are buying homes. Have you noticed that too? And some of these individuals have only been in the country maybe 5 to 10 years, and they're being so successful. How? Why is that the case? Why do you think they're doing so well when you have individuals that grew up in this country, especially the minorities, and they're struggling? What do you think the mojo is, folks? Talk to me. Okay, let's get rid of this guy. Okay. Sorry, guys. Had to get rid of this guy. He's just taking up space. Okay. Mashona says, nursing my full time. I want to get into investment properties. Okay. That's really good. Cherie says she cuts hair. Talib's, yes. Very hard workers, too, most of them. Yeah, exactly. I noticed that a lot of people who are doing quite well, if you notice, they have their own businesses, right? A lot of the guys you see, they have their cargo vans and they have some service and they're out there making cold cash every day. And I think that that's a discussion that a lot of people need to factor in, especially as we move forward, having your own business so that you can combat this whole AI and also all the other different competitions you may have. Nikki says yoga and Pilates instructor. Okay, shout out to you, Nikki. Ryan says they tend to group room together. From what I've seen, most Americans don't want to have exactly. A lot of them will have, let's say, 3 families within their own family, and they're all chipping in together to pay the bills or what have you, right? Eric says, I tried being a landlord, but it's so hard. Many people just don't want to pay their rent. That's a very true statement. Sharice says everything. Okay. Brian says, okay, I covered that. Okay, Talib says there's demand for hard physical labor or demeaning labor that most Americans don't want to. Okay, that's a very true statement. But I do think it's very important that most people who can start thinking about a way of starting their own business and making cold cash every day. Talib says immigrants have more of a focus on finding community too. Americans have this whole individualism to the fault thing going on. Okay, that is very true. True. Ryan says that's rough, Eric. Had that happen to some friends. Okay. Eric says, yeah, that's right. A lot of people have tried to be landlords. I was just talking to somebody about this the other day. A lot of guys that failed at real estate and investing, they've started their own infomercials and they tell you how to flip a house with no money down. And they weren't even successful at real estate themselves, but they know how to sell you the dream, right? And so a lot of people, they buy into these programs. And the next thing you know, they're out here trying to buy and flip properties. And I've seen some people lose their shirt, just simply trying to mimic something that someone told them and they did not do the research or they weren't prepared. So that's a very good point for Eric and also Ryan. So let's get back to what I was saying as far as before. I think it's very important before a person goes down the road of trying to repair their credit. It's very important to change the mental, the way that they're approaching paying their bills. Because what I used to see, people would refinance their homes, right? And take out 20,000, 30,000, and pay off all of these credit cards. So now they've consolidated their debt, but because they didn't change their mindset, they ran the credit cards back up just as bad. So now they have double trouble. They have the new mortgage to pay for, and now the credit cards are astronomical, right? So it does require us to be, very let's see. Tal says the gentrification also prices the working class out. Talit, what state are you located in? We have a lot of gentrification here. I'm in upstate New York, and I'm telling you, it's outrageous. But it's a part of the process. That's why it pays to really be on top of your game. Because if you have the money, then you can, keep yourself in a favorable position. That's very important. Thank you, Ryan. Whichever point that was, thank you very much. Um, what are some of the uh, businesses that you see people in your area starting? What are some of those businesses that you see people doing really well with? Cherie says, it is hard in New York, and I am homeless, and I par- parry for an apartment as well. I think the wording is off, but it's okay. I understand what you're saying. Okay, Latrell says it's not that we don't want to do the jobs that we do, it's that we were. Okay, all right. And Latrell, you say you're retired, right? Okay, very good. All right, so okay, Mel New York reviews. Okay, thank you. Shout out to you. We've been chatting as well. I lost a lot of money to a crypto scam years ago. When it comes to crypto, you have to be really careful. A lot of times with the crypto, you think you're buying one crypto and you're not even buying it at all. It's just a scam. And you really have to know what you're doing and use a solid company when you make your purchase. Talib says Cali and the suburbs nearest LA. Okay. All right. And you guys have a lot of gentrification. Okay. Mashona says, Sharice Brewster prayers for you and hope you find something soon. Is that the individual that mentioned, who is it that mentioned that they're homeless? Okay, Sharice. And Sharice, you said you're in New York? Okay. Um, Definitely, I would like to know more about your situation. Michonne, if you could put the email address in the chat, I would like to hear from Sharice. Sharice is regular here. I would like to know more about your situation. All right. Mashona says, yes. Okay. Thank you. Mel, New York City Review says, hoping you find something clean and wonderful place to live this year. Thank you, Mel, for giving Sharice those good vibes only. Okay, so when it comes to the stock market, um, I would say if you're not experienced with it at all, it would be wise to really do your homework before you jump into it. I do not give financial advice, but I will say that a good place to start, if you're a lot of people are doing CDs. In the email, quite a few of you say you have CDs, you're trying to do something different. I was shocked at how many people that don't understand what an index fund is. So it would be wise to research the index funds. And one that I use in particular that I invest in is the S&P 500. And typically, if you research the top seven companies in the top, the number one to number seven, usually it's solid companies. Um, I don't think Tesla is in there. I bought a lot of Tesla. I wouldn't recommend people buying Tesla unless they know what they're doing. But you'll find Apple, perhaps even Johnson and Johnson, depending on which index fund you invest in. But check it out and try to understand what an index fund is before you start investing in individual companies. I think it's important for you to do your own research, even if you go to a professional and have them break it down to you. If you go to them understanding these concepts, mutual fund, index funds, I'm more of an index fund type of guy versus a mutual fund. I have my reasons for that. And then you can consider the companies like the ones that I showed you that I have done quite well with. That's not always the case, and in many times you could lose a lot of money. So you want to be wise when it comes to that. Talib says, and it causes other problems. Okay, I'm not sure which point in particular that comment came off of. You said, "Yep, it's not a bad thing and in of itself, but it means working Americans have to travel further to work." Okay, you're talking about where you are out in LA. Okay, I get it. Very good. All right. Mashona says, I started learning about the index funds when I went to Trade Surge earlier this year. Okay, Trade Surge. That's the first time I'm hearing about that. So that must be a program. Was it online or was it something that you attended in person? Talib says, never take anyone's advice as gospel and always corroborate information. Exactly. Yes, indeed. That's very important. That way you can protect yourself and your interests because people are always out to get your money. And they have become very creative at getting your money. And I'm sure you get those emails where they're trying to solicit you, or they pretend to be Verizon, the phone carrier, or what have you. Nikki says there are two different emails showing for Mel. One has two O's in the word, and the other one has one. It's the one that has two. I'm not sure where you're seeing. Okay, I see what you're talking about. Yeah, so we have to fix that. It's the one that has two. Cherie says, thank you, everybody on here. Give advice. Okay. All right. Thank you, Eric, for clarifying that. Mashona says, it's part of Life Surge. Okay, it's a Christian program to help entrepreneurs learn to manage money in a godly way. Okay. All right. You know, the interesting part when you talk about Christianity, um, if you take it at the base level with the Bible, right? For most people that are Christians, Jesus was encouraging from the scriptures like people to live a simple life. I think he says, if your eye is simple, your whole body will be bright, right? That's what it says. But when you look at how people actually live their lives, they actually live extravagant lives. In fact, a lot of pastors, when you look at some of these mega churches, individuals don't always live simple. So it's really hard for people to navigate whether they should live simple, I guess, as what the Bible probably would have prescribed, right? Versus what you actually see people doing in their personal lives that perhaps lead or they have those prominent positions. Shout out to you, Nikki. You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you so much. Nikki, where are you located at? What state? You don't have to state your city, but where are you? All right, guys. So basically, that's the information I wanted to go over in regards to credit repair. If you guys have any questions or if you want to come up, I'll drop the link. Typically, we cover the news and hot topics, but tonight I wanted to go over the credit repair and some of the questions that I received in the emails. So if you'd like to come up, feel free to come up now. All you have to do is hit the link and you can come up. We can have a one-on-one discussion about whatever finance issue you want to get into. Nikki, okay. Wow, you're from Canada. Okay, very good. Kanye West lover. I like your Yankees hat. Go Yankees. Yeah, shout out to the Yankees. I'm a Yankee fan, definitely. And on the football level, I'm a Cowboy fan. So, absolutely. Very good. All right, guys. So that covers, if no one is coming up, that covers the points that I was emailed. And tomorrow we'll be back at it covering some of the hot topics that are going on right now, especially when it comes to Donald Trump and Epstein. It seems to be a very tough situation right now. I'm not sure what's going to happen. Did you guys see the pictures that came out on CNN today about Donald Trump at a wedding? I think it's going to be devastating for him. That's right, Michonne. Go Cowboys. Oh, you live in Texas. Okay. We have people here from all over. All right. Michonne says, what are your thoughts on where the economy is going? Um, my thoughts on the economy right now, it seems to be from a stock market level, is booming. Remember when Donald Trump first took office and Elon Musk was doing his whole Doge deal? The market was pretty much tanking at that moment. And that's when I started to buy the most. And that's the way I operate when it comes to the stock market. When you see the market tanking and everybody else just want to sell and they're crying, that's when I do my buying. And so that's what I did when the market was tanking then. And so now the market is booming. Most of those companies, I had put out a list on Facebook, probably, I don't know which month it was, but pretty much every stock on the list is doing great right now, especially like Microsoft, Apple, Amazon, SoFi, Rocket Lab, and so many more companies as well. Okay, Eric, you're in Texas too. That's right. That's right. Um, okay, Mel, New York City Review says when you reach out, hold on, this is moving so fast here. Talking to Sharice, when you reach out to your local political officials, they can sometimes guide you forward to the right resources. I volunteered for local officials on and off for 20 years. Shout out to you, Mel. Great work. Great work. Talif says, so other than mortgage or loan, which often has predatory practices, how else would you recommend consolidating debt? Or is it better to leave debt separate and pay each debt off individually? It depends on the scenario. If you can get a very low interest rate, you could perhaps do quite well consolidating your debt with a mortgage. But in most cases, I would recommend really putting all the numbers on paper. Most of my past clients, when I would ask them, like, what are you paying for the interest on your car note? They had no clue. Or what's your interest rate on your home? Or how much are you paying on these credit cards? Most people just don't know. And then when you find out it is predatory or some exorbitant rate, like some people, like your circumstances in life change. So sometimes people have bad credit and they'll buy a car, pay here, buy here, pay here, and pay 24% interest. And then they get to work, life gets better, and they forget that they're paying these predatory rates. So sometimes it just requires you to sit down and calculate the cost, look at your life, and see exactly what you're paying for everything. And I think that would help. That's half the battle, understanding exactly where you are. So that would be my advice. Eric says Conroe, the Woodlands. Is that a part of Texas? Texas, I believe. Okay, Mashona says I can't find you on Facebook. I'm very easy to find. It's just simple. I'm there. Mashona, I'll send you a Facebook request then. Okay, Mashona, you're in the DFW area? Okay. Very good. Talib says that makes sense. Thank you very much. Mel says, thanks. I think you'd be great for an interview on my friend's channel. We can follow up in the email thread. Oh, when it comes to Bitcoin, I think in your email you mentioned that. I own a lot of Bitcoin, so, but I don't get too crazy into these other cryptocurrencies. So, but I have a lot out there. Eric says, yes, North Houston area. Okay. I'll be in that area soon. If this case, Carmelo Anthony, I guess it'll be maybe next year, top of the year. That may go to trial. We'll see what happens. We'll see. All right. I guess that's it for tonight, folks, as far as the financial questions that everybody had for me. Thank you to everybody that participated. It's been a long day. Filming in New York City for 2 days has been quite the task, but we will definitely catch you guys tomorrow. Thank you for tuning in, and I will definitely be chatting with you guys soon. Thank you very much. Shona says, Colin Count, where Anthony case is near. Okay, that's near you. Okay. All right, good night, everybody, and have a good night.
Different voices, but the same song. Living a world where we all belong. Kindness leading the way, breaking the chains. In the symphony of love, the flame remains. Embracing diversity, brighter days in sight. Watching the world sharing love and light. Hearts beating as one in our peaceful flight. Colors of harmony, painting the night. United we stand in love's pure might. Watching the world sharing love and light. Hearts beating as one in our peaceful flight. The colors of harmony, painting the night. United we stand in love's pure might.